All right, everyone, this is Rick Murphy with AllNet Distributing. I thank you for logging in today to join us for our iPort training. On the line with us, I've got Nick Snyder from Dana Innovations and iPort. And Nick is going to be reviewing the iPort and LaunchPort product lines. Without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Nick Snyder. Nick, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. So just want to talk a little bit about the focus of iPort. At Dana Innovations, the parent company for iPort, we are really focused on thinking about the why behind each one of our products. For any of you that are familiar with Dana Innovations for a brand and have been around us, you'll hear this statement a lot. We like to start with the why. And our focus and our why behind iPort is to enhance the user experience of mobile devices in the connected home. Now, I'll talk a little bit more about what we mean by that, but there's a lot of different smart things out there, and everything out there today, you'll see that it has an app. I was actually just in the market for a new vacuum cleaner, believe it or not, and I noticed I was looking at that particular brand, and I noticed that they had an app for a vacuum cleaner. And so there's no lie about it there that every smart thing is starting to have apps, and you continue just to get inundated with apps. But us in the CEDIA industry are familiar with the automation apps very much. Every control system exists to automate the connected home, and those control systems all have apps. So the mobile device has become a controller for the connected home. I hear this a lot whenever we talk about smart things, or even whenever we talk about major control systems, URC, RTI, Control 4. A lot of integrators are saying that customers are going to mainly control that device from their phone. But if you've ever been in this environment, I have been in this environment where I try to control most of the home functions from my phone. You'll be familiar with this very next slide that I have, where it can be frustrating because if you are using your mobile device to control everything, in addition to your email, you're now starting to control your home from that mobile device. Very often it'll take away from what it actually means to be home. You can see the picture with the frustrated kid there. That could very easily be at my dinner table. Whenever I want to turn on music or something like that, I get out my phone. I try to open up Sonos or another app, and before you know it, I see a message pop up that's work related, and now I'm starting to answer emails, or I'm starting to answer text messages whenever all I really wanted to do was just turn on music, or maybe I wanted to adjust my thermostat, so I got out my phone, and before you know it, I'm now distracted. So what if there was a system of dedicated devices in your home that allowed you to interact with it at the right place and at the right time? We believe that iPad can be a big part of that, and then adding in our new Express Audio keypad, you now have dedicated devices that are strategically positioned throughout the home to serve as a primary control system for that home. And iPad is positioned very nicely to be a key part of that. So now your home would actually be smart in the way that you interact with it, and not just interacting it with your smartphone. So I want to build on the iPort portfolio a little bit. I want to talk about just some overview of some of the devices. So we have 3 major product categories, and they have different kind of user interfaces. And we'll start to talk about Surface Mount and LaunchPort here in a second. But I want to just back up a step and talk about the user interface element that each one has to offer. So if you look at the user interface for that top product category, our Surface Mount. So this is a stationary glass. So it's intended to function with apps primarily, and you're always going to know where that device is going to be. And I'll dig into this in a few more minutes, but the primary purpose is that device stays stationary. It's never going to move. It's always going to be at the right place to open that critical app. You also have the LaunchPort product, which offers the removable glass application. Okay, so what we mean by that is that's a mobile element to the home. So it's not necessarily intended to go outside of the home, but it can move around the home. It certainly has a place. It certainly has a home there. It has a station, if you will. But you can always remove that, take it to the sofa, or take it to the kitchen counter where you want to actually use it. So devices go where you want to go. And then we have the buttons. And the buttons are a key part of our strategy because they they give you the best, they give you the best instant access to key functionalities. And then we've expanded on our portfolio, and we've added, you see, like with Surface Mount with buttons, you have the option of adding buttons to that. So now you have the best of both worlds. You have the richness of apps plus the convenience of buttons. Same with the LaunchPort product. You have the richness of apps, and then you have the convenience of buttons in a mobile solution. I want to talk about a little bit about what a lot of people do is they'll maybe just recommission an existing iPad. They'll say, oh yeah, I've already got an iPad, so I'm going to use that to control my connected home. Well, that's okay, but there's also sometimes too, in a lot of cases, where customers are not completely satisfied with that. Because what ends up happening is the iPad's not always charged. So you have this naked iPad, or maybe it's in another sleeve of some sort, but it's not a charging sleeve. It doesn't have the convenience of always being charged. It doesn't have the place where it's always going to be protected because it doesn't have the right type of protection on that. And then it's not always in the right place at the right time. I notice this in my home a lot because we use the iPort products, that every time I go to my iPad, it's always charged, and even my 3-year-old knows where to dock the iPad whenever she's finished with it. So let's talk a little bit more about the product lineup. We have the LaunchPort items, we have the Surface Mount items, and we have the new Express Audio keypad. I'm going to touch really lightly on the LaunchPort items, and then we're going to focus more on the last two, as I said before. All right, so LaunchPort. LaunchPort is an inductive charging magnetic mount for iPad. I have a few animations that kind of show you how this system works. It's basically made up of 2 components: the sleeve component, which actually attaches to the iPad itself, and you'll see this animation here. And then it has the base station, or the wall station, which is the charging unit. This animation shows how the LaunchPort pieces slide into place. Again, many of you are probably familiar with this and have already handled this piece, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time there. LaunchPort, again, is 2 major components: the station and then the sleeve component, and then the 2 combined together provide the total system. You'll notice that the station is available in a base station, like a pedestal mount, and it's also available in an integrated wall station, which would be cut an opening and actually install it onto the wall. And then we have the sleeve component as well. Next slide will just show us a little bit more of the different products and the compatibility. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the Apple changes that they made within the last few months. But you can see the different compatibility that these pieces have. We have the AM2 sleeve, which services all the different iPad minis. And you might say, well, wait, isn't the Mini 4 a little bit bigger than the Mini 1, 2, 3? And you're absolutely correct, it is. You can see that it's compatible with the Mini 4. And the way we accomplish that is with the Mini sleeves, we include 2 different sleeve tops. So if you're using a Mini 1, 2, or 3, you're going to use the shorter sleeve top, if you will. And then if you're using a Mini 4, there's a sleeve top in there that's slightly longer because they made the iPad an 1/8 inch longer for Mini 4, and that'll work perfectly with that. You can see also that the AP5 services the iPad Air, Air 2, and then the iPad Pro 9.7, which is actually changed. That's now an iPad. There's actually going to be a larger size iPad, and again, I'll talk about that more in a minute. But anything that's called Apple iPad, which is their newer model, it starts at $329. The AP5 sleeve would support that newest model called Apple iPad. So in our Surface Mount lineup, the key things here are that it can elegantly mount and charge any system on any surface. It's really easy to mount, and it looks great whenever it's finished, and has a very Apple-esque aesthetic, if you will. This animation will show, I'm sorry, that animation does not show that. That's coming up in a few slides. But you can see the different surfaces that this will support. If you have, like very popular, like a rustic reclaimed wood, it's perfect for that. Even masonry surfaces, it works great for that as well. Showing some concrete and some plaster here. And then, of course, it works with drywall textures as well. Very easy to install on any surface. The main features here, you are getting a high-end machined aluminum bezel available in 3 different finishes. white, anodized, aluminum finish, and then a black finish as well. It does support a brand new thing for us at iPort. It has PoE capabilities as well, or you can use 2-conductor 24 volt. But it is very convenient with the PoE splitter, and we'll talk a little bit more about that technology, but very exciting there as well. And then again, it's any surface, anywhere, any way. You can mount it in portrait or landscape mode. It's also good for all the different, it works with a standard 1-gang box. It could work with a 2-gang box as well as a rough-in, or you could even use any of the international standards there as well. I want to talk a little bit more about surface mount and why surface mount makes sense. Certainly a lot of applications, you're going to want the mobility that LaunchPort affords, but I do want to talk a little bit more about this idea of having a stationary dedicated iPad as part of a valuable system, if you will. So in a perfect world, or in a great scenario, a good designed system, we utilize both, or I'd say actually all 3 types of our iPort solutions. What I mean by that is, again, there are certainly times that mobile makes sense, but there's also times where stationary is a great application. And so if you look here, I'm going to zoom in and focus in on these 2 areas here of our demo home. You can see this piece here. I'm going to actually try this here, see if my marker will allow me to work here. My little laser pointer. So if you see here, this area here going back the hallway into the bedroom area, and then this area right here where you just walk into the home. So let's think about that for a second. If I have a mobile solution mounted there, let's say I have a LaunchPort item mounted there. It could be that that LaunchPort item wasn't put back. Well, let's say I just got home from work and I'm walking in the home and I want to turn on some music, or maybe I need to disable my security system or do something else, a very key critical function, maybe it's lighting control. I want that iPad to be there whenever I walk in the door. I don't need that iPad to be mobile and to be moved off somewhere else because I have critical stationary functions that I want to do. So you can see how these things can work in conjunction with one another. And we certainly know that there are a lot of apps out there where you would need to have these fixed pieces. So why a fixed, sorry, I actually have a typo here, but why a fixed panel wall mount? Because stationary apps will always be where you need them and they'll be there when you need them. So very critical, and many of us on the line are familiar with the control system apps. So think automation, right? Those are key functionality. That's certainly a critical part of the smart home. If you're using a Savant system, you want to make sure that that iPad is going to be there when you need it. Same with Control4, Crestron, all the major control system companies. Or maybe you're not using major control system. Maybe you are combining different IoT things, Internet of Things. Maybe you have climate, with Nest or some other thermostat. Maybe you're using audio, Sonos, security, lighting. Think about a stationary iPad, incorporating that into your system. We're certainly not saying that it will be a replacement for all your mobile iPads, but a very robust, great system design will incorporate both different portable mobile solutions and then also the stationary iPad solutions. There's also, within the past, let's say, the past few years, Apple has updated their HomeKit to actually include an app. So many of you are probably already familiar with this. But the iPad is a great hub. Using the HomeKit app, it becomes a great hub for all the IoT things. And even a better reason to put a stationary iPad now in that home environment. So again, just to kind of wrap it up with this demo home image here, you have a great place where you can use surface mount in combination with LaunchPort, in combination with Express. So that's a little bit of the why behind why you'd want to use a stationary iPad mount. And of course, we all know that the surface mount product would be a great solution for those stationary iPads. Let's talk a little bit about the kit. What's in a surface mount kit? So you see you have the bezel. That's an obvious component. But you also have these 2 other components here. You're definitely going to need this piece right here, which is called the splitter. Okay, that's going to take your Cat 5, Cat 6 cable coming in. That's basically going to take your power coming in. And it's also going to take your 2-conductor power if you have that. And then it's going to convert it into a USB power output. USB is great because if Apple ever decides to change their connection, we can now support any updated piece, hopefully. Like a lightning connector that's included with the kit will easily plug into that USB piece. So you'll definitely need the bezel and the splitter. You're definitely going to need these two pieces. However, the last piece, the injector, is optional. Sometimes you might need this because you don't have a powered switch going into the job. Other times you won't need it because you have a powered switch. So injector is optional, but you're definitely going to need the bezel and the splitter, those first two components. Animation here will show you what the backside of the bezel looks like and also how the iPad mounts into that piece. You'll see the USB to lightning connector that I was just talking about there. And then you'll see that last little animation. It's kind of hard to catch, but you'll notice those little black plastic tabs inside the bezel. That's what actually locks the iPad into place. Kind of an important tech note at this point of the presentation. Sometimes there is a good enough fit for that iPad just to kind of feel like it's going to be okay if you just snap it in there and forget to actually slide the tabs over. But if you forget to slide the tabs over, the iPad will actually be a little bit loose in the bezel. So it's a good idea. It's required actually to go ahead and slide those black tabs into place and now lock the iPad into the bezel. You also notice the magnets in the four corners. You can just see this bottom right one here. Those are what are actually going to hold the bezel onto the mounting frame, which I'll talk about here more in a minute. This next animation is just going to show us how the USB connects into that and the Cat5 connector, and that is our splitter. And then the next animation will show us how the product actually installs into a gypsum wall. So here you're going to go ahead and cut in for a single gang box. Any single gang box will work for you there. You'll notice that mounting frame, if you will, can mount anywhere on the single gang box. And then you'll see our little Cat5 cable coming out of there as well. And then the next animation will actually show the bezel joining up to the mounting frame. Very, very quick, easy install here. That's one of the things I really love about the product. You can walk up to any wall and literally within a few minutes you can have that mounted on any different surface. This slide talks a little bit more about what the surface mount with bezel, the surface mount bezel, some of the features here. I do want to talk a little bit about some of these things. You'll see the different finishes there at the bottom. As I already highlighted, you have the black, the anodized silver finish, and then the white finish. You can see that this works with, this will keep all the functionality of the iPad open. What I mean by that is this doesn't close off the speakers. It does not close off the microphone. So you'll notice that we have the audio waveguides on the end piece, and then we have the microphone open on the other side. And we also have accessibility to the power button so that you can reset the iPad if you need to. And then what I really like about this product too is we have the security lock integrated. It's actually located here. I'll see if I can just mark that. Oh, sorry, that's not going to work. Let me go back here. So we have the security lock here, and then it's also up here at the upper right corner as well. And there's a little security screwdriver that's included with the kit that allows you to lock that bezel in place. So great for commercial applications because you just can't walk up to the iPad and just take it off the wall and take the iPad with you. This will allow you to lock that in place and make sure that it's never going to move. We talked a little bit about the electronics earlier. Some of the different power options. You'll see here 3 different scenarios that we have laid out on the right-hand side of your screen. The PoE switch scenario is probably the most popular. And again, the components that are included with that are going to be, the components you'll need to get from iPort would be the splitter and then, of course, the bezel. And then you're using somebody else's PoE switch. And then the 24-volt solution, you could be using an offboard, some sort of power supply, keypad link, and you'll also need the splitter and the wall box for that, or the bezel for that. And then on the last option here, I'm showing the receptacle, and you can see you could be using our PoE injector and our splitter and then our surface mount bezel. It's a little bit about the packaging and how that works, and of course we can include that in the box, and then you can also buy it with the PoE injector in the box as well. Okay, so you might see some different SKUs out there on the market. most distributors, most people are stocking and finding value in the bezel and the splitter option, and then having the injector a la carte purchase, if you will. Here's the bezel and splitter SKUs. You can see the different options there. I do want to highlight that the Mini 1, 2, 3 does require a different model of surface mount. Again, you heard me talk about on the LaunchPort product that the iPad Mini 4 is about an eighth of an inch longer. So we actually have a different product that works for that. And then we have the Air 1, Air 2, and then the Pro 9.7, which is actually now a discontinued product. But that would also be the iPad, the Apple iPad. I believe they're calling that Generation 5. And then we also support the bigger products as well in the Pro 12.9. I want to move on, and I want to talk about surface mount with buttons as well. This is a great product because, especially in the automation industry, this now allows you to have the best of both worlds. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, the richness of apps that you get with the glass part of it, right? That's why everybody loves iPad, because you can do virtually anything on an iPad. But you also get the convenience of having the buttons added into that interface as well. What I mean by that is in a home automation environment, there's key functionality that you don't necessarily want to have to close another app and go through several touches to get to the action that you want to do. You want to have key functionality. You want to have favorites, if you will, on those buttons. So that's the great part about having the Surface Mount with Buttons product. Buttons plus glass will enhance the user interface. So it's going to enhance the user experience. The way they interact with their home now is going to be so much more rich and less frustrating, because now they have instant access to the key functionality that those customers want. So it does work. These buttons do not require it doesn't require a dedicated hub from a certain manufacturer. It's pretty much an open interface. You'll see that we can utilize hubs from Savant. You can utilize Crestron, Control4. We've written drivers. I'm sorry, we actually haven't written the drivers, but we've worked with these companies, and they've developed drivers for our products so that it easily interfaces with Savant, directly to Savant. It easily interfaces directly to Crestron. It's direct IP control to virtually any of these control system companies. And you'll see a more expanded list on our website if you go to iPortproducts.com. But we virtually worked with a ton of different manufacturers, and this has a wide range of compatibility. Two different models available in the market. We have the 6-button model, and we have the 10-button model. Think about the 6-button model as being a great kind of one-function device. So if you wanted to use it, if you wanted to have a particular zone, let's say it's maybe a theater set up with an iPad Surface Mount with buttons, this is a great place to use the 6-button model, because now you can do different things like power, play pause, kind of one functionality. It's all controlling your theater and your audio experience right there from your iPad, from your Surface Mount. Think about the 10-button being more of the utility piece. Now, this one could go out and maybe there's different functionality. You'll see here how we have, like in this upper right corner, we have like a home and away button. And then here we have shading control. And then over here we have the audio functionality. So I kind of broke this bezel down into three different zones, if you will, 3 different types of activities that you could do. So think about the 10-button as kind of being an all-in-one piece, and the 6-button as being your specialized piece. Available in the 3 different finishes that we talked about for Surface Mount. And you'll notice how we changed the button. Button colors changed to white, and then the black and silver options, or the black and anodized finishes, ship with black buttons. These buttons are actually very beautiful aesthetically. Whenever you look at the button and the tactile feel of the button is great. They are backlit for easy readability in all lighting. You can actually change the backlight and the brightness and the color. The color changing is actually really cool, because we don't just give you red, green, blue options. You could select those, but it's virtually anything in an RGB scale. You can actually change that backlighting color. There's 30 plus buttons included. What I mean by that is that you'll have different icons that you can include with those, or that actually are in the kit. And if you want to, you do have the option to custom engrave those and actually label different scenes. But the icons are a great way to just right out of the box, you have instant customization to it. We talked about the power button, or we talked about the power options for the non-button version. I want to highlight the power button, or the power options for the surface mount with buttons. Because it does use the data component of it. The buttons are actually going to be a device on the network. You're going to need to utilize our PoE splitter, and then a PoE switch is probably going to be most popular. Or you can have this like a non-PoE switch, but you're still going to need to get data to that device via a data-only switch. So you wouldn't want to use two conductor to power a surface mount with buttons because, again, you need to have your data connection to that. It's not wireless. It needs to be a hardwired data connection to those button components. Talk a little bit about the installation and the wiring. Again, this is an animation that we just showed you previous for the surface mount. Surface mount with buttons will marry up, it will mount just exactly the same. A little bit of preview on the icons. You can see virtually any different scene, party scene, or lock and unlock. I mean, there's virtually anything that you want to make those buttons do, there is an icon included. This next animation will actually show you how to field swap the buttons. You're going to use a Phillips size 0 screwdriver. Back out those screws. Lift the PCB. And then you'll see access to those buttons right there. Lay in the new buttons that you want. And then just simply lay the PCB back in place and screw that back in. I want to show you this next animation because this next slide actually will show you how you can actually wire up a surface mount with buttons using a hardwired data connection, not just for the buttons, but also for the iPad. Okay? So this shows us that using two Cat5 or Cat6 connectors, a few Apple adapters. I want to show you those here really quick. This guy right here is an Apple Lightning to USB 3. So I'm providing hardwired data directly to the iPad. Okay. I also need to have this Apple USB to Ethernet adapter. I believe the combination of these two adapters from Apple is, let's say, around $80. Okay, so you need to purchase these separately. But this is a great way if you need to get a connection to an iPad, and maybe it's a tough spot where you can't get wireless to that particular device, or you just want the reliability of having a hardwire connection. You can now do that to an iPad. And utilizing our surface mount piece, you now have the option of hardwiring directly to the iPad. And just a side note here as well, we do have an option available. We actually produce a piece that allows you to connect the splitter directly to this Lightning adapter and not have to use two different Cat5s. You can actually just use one Cat5. Again, I'll be happy to answer any questions about when you can hardwire an iPad and when you cannot hardwire an iPad and different compatibility there. But just know that the surface mount products work great for that application. And we actually include a sticker on the box that allows you, that shows you that that's actually compatible. Okay. I'll show you a little bit about how to configure a surface mount with buttons product. So the setup is easy. Simply discover the device on the network. So it'll have the option to, I'm sorry, not the option, but it's basically, it's going to be assigned a IP address on the network. Okay, so you just easily need to discover that. You can use Sting or any other network scanner and just simply find that device. It'll show up as iPort. And then you need to configure that device, okay, and then you'll program that device. I'll walk through each one of those steps. The discover process is pretty simple. Again, you're just going to go ahead and search the network, and you can see 10.0.1.3 is our iPort device, and now I can go ahead and type that into my web browser, and I can begin configuring that product. Now, the configuration utility is not where you're going to be doing programming per se, but this is where you're going to go in, and you heard me talk about adjusting the backlighting color or the backlighting brightness, or maybe you need to make IP address changes. That's where you would actually use the configuration utility. The programming for the device is going to take place inside your control system. So you can see I can name the device here. I can change my backlighting color. I can type in an RGB code and have a specific color, or I can just pick one of our standard out-of-the-box colors, white, blue, green, red. Oftentimes, though, you might not even need to make any changes. If you're happy with 75% brightness of white, you wouldn't even need to log into this configuration utility. That's the standard out-of-the-box setup. Simply begin the program. You can see we use Savant there, but the programming is simple. There's drivers. Again, those drivers exist in various locations depending on the control system manufacturer, but you can download the driver directly from the control system utility, or in some cases it's actually posted on iPortproducts.com as well. You simply assign the IP address to the surface mount, and then you verify the connection. This is an example, this is a screenshot of inside Savant, what that programming might look like. And then you'll see whenever I press the buttons here in the screen, sorry, that one actually doesn't show it. Yeah, there. So if you look in the middle there, there are certain buttons under state value. There's some that say released and some that say pressed. And then on the next screen, those buttons would all be released. So you can see how the different the different buttons will affect the programming of Savant. Again, we are a Sonos endorsed partner. We're also partnered with iPort, Lutron, Control Force, Crestron. I'm going to actually skip a few of these slides. Let me actually back up here. Go to the right place here. Okay. So that was the Surface Mount with Buttons product. Very simple, again, easy to install, and also very easy to configure. And I do want to reiterate, it is direct IP control to any control system. I want to talk now, here in the last few minutes that we have, I want to talk about the Express Audio keypad. The Express Audio keypad, again, it's the audio keypad for Sonos. Why Express? Because it's going to give you great control over any Sonos, anywhere, anytime. It's a great it's a great little mobile device. You can actually take it on and off the wall. It also gives you the convenience of mounting it anywhere with the great mounting features that we've included for the Express. We'll talk a little bit more about those, and then it's direct control to Sonos. One of the things I love about this piece, you heard me talk about my home scenario, my little example in the beginning about sitting at the dinner table and wanting to turn on some music. That's a very real world scenario piece where, you might be just hanging around the house, maybe you're starting to cook dinner, and, it's like, hey, why don't we put on some music? Well, in order to do that today, without an Express Audio keypad, you would have to get out your phone or get out your device, open your app, and begin to press play that way. Well, this way here, you can walk in to any room, and just like you turn on a light, you can turn on music. And that's a great application to marry up the convenience and the excitement around Sonos and marry it up to a great user interface and a great experience in the home, right? So now I can walk in at home, and just like I'm turning on lights, I can now turn on audio. So it drastically reduces my time to music. Features here, it is a Wi-Fi enabled keypad. It utilizes battery power, which gives it a mobility functionality. So now doesn't have to stay in the same location. This thing can actually move around your home and be an outside solution coming inside. You could put it in your pocket and control the music in a variety of different rooms. And it has a very familiar form factor. It's Decora size. You heard me talk about the lighting example. It's just like walking into a room and turning on lighting. It has that very familiar size and form factor that everybody's comfortable and loves. You can use it on any Wi-Fi network, and you can use it anywhere around the house. So simply stated, Express works anywhere that you have Wi-Fi connection and a Sonos device. So it does utilize a lithium polymer battery, and you can charge that via the micro USB cable that's included, the adapter that's included. That battery is going to give you up to 3 to 6 months of battery life, and which will give you, let's just say, an average of 20 button presses a day. And then it would simply just need to be recharged for an hour or so, and then it's ready to be used again. What is this term, low-powered Wi-Fi? Okay, so we needed a balance. We wanted it to have very quick time to music, so it needed to wake up very quickly, but then we also needed the keypad to be able to go to sleep. And again, we didn't want this to be a hardwired device. We wanted it to be a device that could be mobile, a mobile component to it as well. So we kind of use this technology, this low-powered Wi-Fi technology. It would allow us to quickly wake up the iPad and then quickly go back to sleep whenever quickly wake up the buttons and then quickly go back to sleep on the keypad whenever it was not in use. So that allows us to have long battery life and a great user experience because they're getting music when they want it, and then they're also getting a long battery life. And then this Decora-sized aspect. This straightforward elevation doesn't show it the best, but it does protrude from the wall a little bit so that you can protrude from the faceplate a little bit so that you're able to grab it with your fingers and actually take it out of there, and then it simply just mounts right back onto the wall utilizing a magnet connection. It also comes with a peel and stick mount so that you can mount it on any surface. So let's say you don't want to see the Decora ring around it and you just wanted it to be on the side of a cabinet, if you will. You can easily just utilize the peel and stick mount and just mount it right onto the cabinet there. And it's also a little magnetic plate, so you can still remove it and then bring it back there and dock it whenever you're finished. Again, it is magnetic, so one of the great little clever ways is that metal corner bead on the side of a wall, in a corner of a wall. Actually, you can just easily put the keypad right there. Another great place to utilize the magnet functionality is on the fridge. So people, you can utilize it in the kitchen and then just simply stick it right back on the fridge. It's a great application to utilize with a Sonos Connect as well. Right? So obviously with a Play 1, Play 3, Play 5, maybe you have that on a bookshelf or somewhere where you can't reach the button, but typically you have the play pause, volume button control on top of those Play speakers. So maybe you're just simply going to walk up to a speaker and just press play right there. But with for us in the CD industry where we're utilizing in-ceiling speakers and in-wall speakers a lot, you don't have that functionality. So now you're able to have the component tucked away and then have instant access to the volume control. Also, think about the upgrade opportunities, right? So we're showing some picture here of like a hardwired keypad. Think about the ability to just go in and upgrade the Sonos, put a Sonos Connect or Connect amp into that system, and then easily upgrade the user interface on the front side. And think about how thrilled the end user will be to know that they don't have to be staring at an outdated piece of keypad technology anymore. They now have a great refreshed aesthetic with the Express Audio keypad in place. So I think there's some huge upgrade opportunities to go into legacy systems and offer them an upgrade package, maybe with some Sonance in-ceiling speakers and then utilizing some Express Audio keypads. Works great in the home theater environment because now you can easily have a dedicated remote for that type of environment as well. Let's talk a little bit about the button functionalities. So we do have the play pause button, so that's pretty straightforward. Track forward, also pretty straightforward. Volume up, volume down. It does allow you to do ramping as well. And then this favorite buttons, there, the little star icon, that's a great little button as well, because what that'll allow you to do is allow you to toggle through your Sonos favorites. So inside the Sonos ecosystem, you can have a variety of different things be a favorite. It could be a playlist. It could be a particular album that you're fond of, but you can easily set up these favorites. And now, whenever I go in and my kids have Kid Pop playing, I don't have to listen to that. I can just simply press the favorites button. I don't have to open the app. I can press the favorites button and now toggle to a favorite that I have set up in the system. So it's a great, easy way to toggle through something that you didn't want to listen to into something that you're more comfortable with. Each keypad pairs directly with a Sonos device, with one Sonos device. And then the keypad can control the whole room, the whole home for any group it's paired to that Sonos device. So it's a great way. So if you have grouping set up in Sonos, right? So if, let's say I have a keypad in my living room, and then I also have a Sonos device in my kitchen, if I group those two together, I can now control both zones with a single keypad. Very easy to set up as well. It has a great interface on any iOS device. You just need to simply download the iPort app, take the remote out of the box, take the keypad out of the box, and then open the app, and it will easily walk you through a step-by-step instructions of pairing that to your network, and then pairing that particular device to a Sonos device. A screenshot here of what that looks like inside the system. You can see on this screenshot, based on the screenshot, I have an Express Audio keypad set up in the living room. Also shows the battery there as well after it's already installed. And then I can update the firmware from the app as well. This is all made possible with this being a part of the Sonos Endorsed Partner integration. Okay, so that gives us direct access to Sonos, and then allows us to build this product to work specifically for Sonos. So again, all you need for an Express Audio keypad is a wireless network, an internet connection, obviously, to that network, Sonos device, Express Audio keypad, and an iOS device. Now you're ready to set up your system. So anywhere you have a internet connection, a Sonos device, and Express Audio keypad, you're now ready to get set up. Little network diagram shows you how those connections are made. Pretty straightforward there. The Express is on the Wi-Fi network, and then it's talking to Sonos. So if you have not tried out the Express Audio keypad or any of the new products that we just talked about here, that does sum up our part of the training. We can now open it up to any questions. Yeah, that's the new products, and feel free to try any of those new products out. If you're unsure about any of the products or you have any questions, feel free to ask those now as well.
So I have a question about this is Brian with Home Sweet Home Theater. I'm working on a restaurant right now where we're going to do an iPad to control the whole system. And basically, I want to have it set so that all the TVs turn on in the morning and then turn off at night. With the iPort, can that be one of the buttons on the side? Or is that something where I don't need one of those surface mounts with the buttons on the side? Basically, it's just going to be a controlled system to turn on and off the TVs.
Yeah, so are you utilizing like a control system to do that functionality, like one of the ones that I mentioned, or
yeah, something like that, yep. So it's going to be a controlled system.
Okay. Yeah, so if you're utilizing any of it, and again, you can see a larger list of all the control systems that we work with. But if you're utilizing any of the control systems, and that's a command that you can do in a control system, you can set up an IP command to do that functionality as well. I do want to reiterate, though, or mention as well, that you cannot do direct control to third-party IoT devices from any of those buttons. Okay, so what I mean by that is if, let's say it's a power supply of some sort that has internet connectivity, and you could control that power supply from your phone. you cannot necessarily control the power supply via a hard-mounted button at this time.
Sure, okay.
But
and
yeah,
then the locking on the security on those, that's just like a torque screw or something, screwdriver, or what is that?
Yeah, I believe it is like a smaller torque screw. That's like the star configuration, right?
Right, yes.
Yeah, I believe it's a smaller size torque screw. It's like a micro Torx, if you will.
All right, very good.
Hey, this is Rick with AllNet. Hey, a lot of those tools are available pretty readily these days. The guys that do laptop repair or repair like iOS and Android devices use them, so those tools are available everywhere nowadays. Okay, we do have some questions coming in, Nick. So the first question that come in is, in what applications do you suggest the iPort Enterprise line? We are doing a brewery and wondering if the iPort versus iPort Enterprise would be best. Elan is the control system in place.
Okay. So I guess the first place I would begin to answer that question is the iPort Enterprise solution is a dedicated solution for our enterprise channel, and it utilizes a mobile type of solution. So think LaunchPort, but with not as many features as the LaunchPort lineup. So in other words, you have a base and then you have a sleeve. So it's a mobile type of solution. So that would be when you'd want to utilize the iPort Enterprise line. That's kind of what you're looking at there. Now with the iPort line that's available to all CEDIA dealers, that's where you're going to have the functionality or the flexibility to tailor that solution to your application. So you have the fixed panels, like we talked about with Surface Mount, and then we have the mobile solution through LaunchPort. So that would be a case where, depending on what that brewery, what their needs were, if they wanted to keep that iPad locked in place or locked down, if you will, that's a great place to utilize the Surface Mount. And again, if they want a mobile solution, then I would utilize the LaunchPort product. I wouldn't see any compelling reason in that application to utilize anything outside of the standard iPort offering.
All right, thanks for that. And Doug, if you got any follow-up questions, feel free to type them in, or we can unmute you in a minute. The next question comes from James. He asks, what kind of warranty is on these products?
Yeah, I'll get the answer to that question here in a second.
Okay, perfect. All right, the next question that comes in is, where can we find the list of control system that iPort works with?
Okay, that's only going to be on iPortproducts.com. Are we talking specifically about the Surface Mount with Buttons product?
I don't know, but I would believe that would be the question, because obviously the other question would be, if which control systems have iOS licenses, and pretty much all of them do. So I'm guessing that it's for the unit with the buttons.
All right, I just posted, apparently it says privately, but I just posted the address for that on our website.
Okay. Can we put your screen back on?
Yeah, we can actually, yeah, one second. Let me get the answer to that warranty question first.
Oh, sure. Okay, the next question, this is a tough one. If there happens to be a change to the size or design of iPads and the customer wants to upgrade to a new iPad, will there be some sort of upgrade program?
Yeah, there's no formal upgrade program that we offer. However, with that being said, a lot of times whenever Apple makes changes to iPads, a lot of times they'll fall within a very similar form factor, which means that there's sometimes like a fit kit, if you will, that could be available, or it could just even fit into the mount as it is today. So a lot of times, in the case of Apple, they are a manufacturer that's very tight-lipped about their changes. So even though we even though we are a partner of theirs and our products are certified to work with Apple, even though we have those certifications, that doesn't entitle us to know about any changes any earlier than any other consumer. So basically what that means is whenever a new iPad's released, we then buy those iPads and make sure that they fit into our products. And if they don't fit, we figure out what it would take to make them fit. And if it's a hard tooling change or a change where we actually need to redo the product or make a new product, then the timeline's a little bit longer. But oftentimes, we can just create fit kits, if you will, that will allow those to be adapted. And a lot of times we make those fit kits available to customers at no charge. So while there is no formal upgrade program, I guess the best way to say that is see your iPort representative, and they can help you figure out whenever a new iPad comes out, or if a customer wants to upgrade, what your options are.
And if the option exists, we can help. And like you
Absolutely.
said, sometimes this is at no charge. That's pretty awesome. Okay. And I think that, oh, there we go. You have your screen back. It seems like people will leave the same iPads in the system until the iOS stops supporting the license for the control system. And usually that's several generations later. And it's almost the same timeline for a discontinuation of a legacy piece that we would find from the native hardware from the vendor themselves. So, like if there were an AMX touch panel on the wall after 7 or 8 years, that might not be compatible with the new system if they're upgrading the new system, and now there's digital video, or now there's something else new, they might be looking to upgrade it. So it seems like it's a pretty similar timeline. Obviously the numbers are dramatically different in terms of the cost, but it seems like the timelines for how long they'll be useful and compatible are pretty similar.
Yeah, a perfect example of that is you heard me talk about the Mini 1, 2, 3, and then whenever they upgraded to the Mini 4, if a customer had a Mini 4 now that they wanted to put into an existing Mini 1, 2, 3 application, all you would have to do is just see your iPort representative, and they could get you a free sleeve top at that point. So that was a change that we made a few years ago, and so yeah, we didn't have a formal upgrade package, but we did certainly work with you there to get you upgraded.
Okay, I'll follow up after the call, because I just had that happen last week with one of our dealers. His client's iPad mini fit, his did not. So. Okay,
yeah. Okay, so here on my screen, guys, well, if you have any more questions, you can certainly send those in, but I just wanted to show us here the warranty. This is on iPortProducts.com. Go to the bottom of the page, click on warranty, and here's the piece that comes up. It's actually a 1-year warranty. Okay, and then our other question regarding the surface mount with buttons control systems, you'll see here on our website. Some great resources on here, by the way. There's different videos and the data sheets available for download right here. Virtually any question that you have, you can come here first and see if you can find the answer. But you'll see some of those different control systems here. Savant, Crestron, Control 4, Elan, Simple Control, Pro Control, URC, RTI, Rune, and coming soon is KNX. And if there's a particular device or particular company that you would like to see, my suggestion is not only log an inquiry on our website, but also log an inquiry on the manufacturer's website, asking them if they support the iPort products. Typically, working at it from both ends, we can very quickly get some drivers written.
And if it happens to be one of our lines, let us know, because we can apply leverage again to on both ends and kind of help let them know that it's important to all of us.
Also want to point out here, since we have the screen up, here's a great video of how Control 4 integrates with surface mount with buttons. So it actually is like a step-by-step walkthrough, and it'll show you programming in Control 4, utilizing that driver, what functionality is available within the driver. You can see that all in this video here. And again, it's an example using Control 4.
One other question I have, this is Brian again. What is the big difference between the surface mount and then the control mount?
Yeah, we didn't talk about control mount. It is one of the more, I guess you call it, legacy products in our line. We are still, it's not discontinued. We are still selling this product. However, some of the new iPad changes, some of the newer sizes of iPads, we're actually not making new control mount product. So this is a picture of the control mount product. And the control mount product is an in-wall type of solution. Kind of has an older type of bezeled aesthetic here. So it doesn't mount on the wall. It actually mounts in the wall, but it does protrude slightly from the wall, let's say about 1/8 of an inch. And that is available for iPad Mini 1, 2, 3. It's also available for iPad Air 1, Air 2 as well. But like I said, some of the new iPads that are coming out, like they just released an iPad Pro 10-inch size. This product will not be supported with an iPad Pro 10.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
The other difference here that I'll point out, there is no security feature on this. So you could actually just pry it right off the wall and take the iPad out. The other thing that I'll point out here too, it does utilize our VoltPort technology, which is our older interface. It's our older splitter, if you will. But it does not allow you to use PoE. You have to use two conductor in this case. So you can be restricted, like our website's saying here, to the length of run. Good question.
Okay, we've got another question. Will the buttons on the iPort Surface or Launchpad support Sonos functions like the Express keypad does?
Good question. We didn't talk very much about LaunchPort, but this is the LaunchPort with Buttons product. This is our first with Buttons product. It does give you the best of both worlds in that you can have the, again, the richness of apps with the convenience of buttons. Now, this particular button system works off of the Lutron Clear Connect system, okay? So that's the interface that this works with. Now, with that being said, it would be very much like a Lutron audio keypad because we utilize a Lutron Pico. So we basically have taken the Pico guts, if you will, and we've put them inside our LaunchPort sleeve. So while you do get the convenience of buttons, it's not an open form factor. It's not an open system like I talked about with direct IP control. There are people that have written drivers that you can utilize with Savant, Control4, and RTI, as we're showing here on our website. But you do have to have a Lutron infrastructure in place. So you could easily, because it is a Pico, and we do include audio buttons with the system, so we have different buttons here. We do include audio buttons. It is a Pico in the sleeve, so yes, you could utilize that to talk directly to Sonos.
Okay, thank you.
I just saw another question come through. I think it's a follow-up to that one. I'm not seeing them come up. They flash up for like 3 seconds.
Oh, okay. The next question that comes up is, what about the buttons on the Surface product, again, for Sonos? This is a follow-up to the previous question.
Yep, very good question. So the Lutron interface allows you to integrate directly to Sonos because you are utilizing a Lutron hub, which does have direct integration to Sonos. In the case of a Surface mount with buttons where you wanted to go directly to Sonos, that is not available at this point. So you can do that, but you would need to be utilizing a third-party control. So in other words, you need to have Surface mount with buttons product, Savant product, and Sonos product, for example, or Surface mount with buttons, Control4, Sonos product. You can't just go Surface mount with buttons and Sonos. So it doesn't talk to any, I made the statement in passing earlier pretty quickly. It was kind of hard to catch, but it doesn't talk directly to any IoT device. It has to have a third-party hub.
Okay, thanks for addressing that one. I don't think we have any more questions, Nick. If anyone has any questions especially if you're mobile and you're not able to type on your device, you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask your questions directly. Okay, I think we've addressed everything. With that, I will say thank you to everyone for attending, and thank you to Nick for your presentation today. And we're going to go ahead and close the webinar now.